Welcome back to Welsh Miniature Board Gamer, and today I'm going to do my February review of what I managed to paint over the last month. Now, as you may have known, from January the 1st I decided I wanted to paint at least one miniature a day for the whole year as a resolution to myself. So this is my ongoing attempt at trying to do that. So at the time of recording, this is the 1st of March, so I'm going to wish all my subscribers a happy St. David's Day, as it's St. David's Day for Welsh people here in Wales, obviously. So we'll get down to have a look at what miniatures I've painted, and then I'll come back at the end and give you a quick rundown. So the first 7 miniatures, as you can see, are the Colonial Marines and Heroes from Gale Force 9's Another Glorious Day in Marine Corps. And I painted them up with a green uniform, grey armour, fairly sort of generic soldier looking. But I think they came out quite well. The detail isn't great on these miniatures, but they're good enough to pick up who they are. And it's nice that they got their nameplate written on the back, so you can always tell who they are just by reading the plate on the back. With painting these sort of things, you have to get them fairly accurate so people actually recognise them, because they are such a large part of pop culture. So of course that leads on to me painting 12 of the Xenomorph miniatures from the same game. And yeah, they're pretty okay. The detail's pretty good. Obviously it's hard to paint Xenomorphs because the whole point of them are they're black. So yeah, it's hard to make them that interesting really. But I painted up these 12. I think they work okay. Maybe I could have picked up the different surfaces a little bit better. But again, that's the inherent problem with painting predominantly black creatures. So the miniatures were easy to put together, with the exception of the tails, which are a real pain in the arse to put on, because there's no real hole for the tails to slot into. As you can see with this picture, I went with a slightly more bluer tone, just to make him stand out a little bit maybe from just plain old black and greys. Next we have 7 of these smaller spiders that came in the Wargames Atlantic Giant Spiders set, I think it is. And I painted up 7 of them in various colours just to have for my games of Rangers of Shadow Deep, etc. These are the smaller spiders. There are larger spiders which I've also painted, which will be coming up a bit later, and you'll be able to see them. Basic paint jobs, just really I wanted to get them done. So next, some 2 3D printed animals, because you never know when you're going to need a badger and a mandrel in a game. Painted them up as I would picture a mandrel and a badger to look. There probably are some anatomical imperfections which I've painted, but this is pretty much as I can picture them in my mind, so I think it works. So, obviously, these are 3 female soldiers from the Frostgrave Soldiers 2 box. And I really like these Frostgrave miniatures. It's really nice that you can sort of swap out arms, swap out heads, and you can exchange them for anything that's in the other soldiers sets, etc. So you're not really tied to one box. So yeah, I kind of like the little story of the one in the middle. His sword, her sword is broken and it's jabbed into the ground, and they're going to run in towards their enemy with the broken sword. So yeah, these are going to work well with my Frostgrave warband. But yeah, nothing really much more to say. They're quite nice to paint, and they're nice and bulky. So this Reaper Bones model next, it's one of the metal miniatures. I can't remember if it was Scientist or Doctor or something, but I like this miniature, and I think she stands out really nicely from the other things I've painted recently. She's got plenty of detail to pick out, so that's really good. As you can see in the folds of her dress and on the ribs on her jumper, they're really quite nicely sculpted, so they stand out really well to pick up, when you go over them with your second or third highlight. They can really stand out, and really nice miniature. I'm really quite proud of this one. And a Reaper Bones wizard to go with my Frostgrave warband people that I'm painting. And I like him. I painted him up in sort of a forest druidy colours, you know, sort of the greens and the browns, to make him more of a wizard of nature type thing. So yeah, I really like him, and considering he's a plastic miniature, he came up really nice. I do think that his staff is very bendy, but you know, such is the nature of these sort of miniatures, etc. So, over to two miniatures from Star Saga. Sorry about the picture, it's a little bit blurry. I didn't notice that when I was taking it. But it's of a vermin and a robot. And I really like the robot. I think the robot has lots of character and can be sort of a rival to Claptrap, etc. for my games of This Is Not a Test. The vermin, really like vermin. Love rat creatures anyway. So yeah, it was really nice to enjoy this, and he had lots of character. Hell of a lot of detail in his backpack, which was a bit of a pain to pick out. But yeah, moving on to the next pictures. So as you might have guessed on my list of what I painted this month, 8 Star Wars Legion Rebels. And they're really nice. It's nice to have that sort of bigger scale slightly, because you know all the details are nice and big that you can pick out without too much problem, even when you got old eyes like mine. I've basted them in the same way that I based my stormtroopers, so they're all going to fit in nicely. And I'm trying to keep them all the same sort of colours so that they're going to look good when I put them back together as a proper unit of soldiers. So these are the giant spiders that I was on about from the Wargames Atlantic kit. And as you can see, they look pretty decent. You know, they're okay. They're a real fiddle to put the legs into the sockets, which is my major gripe for these miniatures. Because actually, when they're done up, they look quite decent and quite good. I've painted them in multiple colour schemes, so I can use them as ice spiders from Frostgrave, or standard giant spiders in Rangers of Shadowdeep, etc. So yeah, you get quite a few nice things in this kit, but they're such a pain to make, which is my huge gripe with these models. So that was it. It's 52 miniatures I've managed to paint this month, which is brilliant, seeing that, you know, that's more than one a day, obviously. Now I'm going to count sort of half the Xenomorphs and half the small spiders, because I don't feel like it'd be fair of me to count all of them, because the Xenomorph are very sort of two-tone creature, and the spiders are just tiny, so I'd feel guilty sort of including them amongst my complete total. So let's say instead of 52, we got 42 done this month, which is really good, and I'm really happy with that. So adding that to the 40 that I did last month, that's now 82 miniatures that I've painted over the last 59 days. So I'm well ahead of where I would want to be during this time, which is good. It's given me a bit of leeway if something happens. I'm unwell and unable to carry on painting for a few days. It wouldn't really matter because I can make up for it, as you can see with these excess that I have, or surplus of miniatures that I've painted. So this is really good. Again, they're not painted to a brilliant standard, but they're painted to a standard which I'm happy with, and that's all that I really what matters really, is that it's painted, and it's painted to a standard I am happy with. And I think that's really something that you guys could really take away as well. Don't paint to other people's standards, paint to your own standards, and having painted miniatures is better than having bare plastic miniatures. So that's it. Until next time, I'm wishing you the very best, and goodbye from Welsh Miniature Ball Gamer.